I'm Brian Van, sportbiketrackgear.com, and this is our brand new 2017 Kawasaki Z125 Pro STG project bike. We're going to build it, we're going to play with it, we're going to ride it, and then we're going to sell it with a lot of cool stuff on it. And every great mini bike project has to begin with, come on, the first part you put on it's got to be an exhaust, because the thing sounds like a moped, right? Got to give it a little more soul, a little more heart. And we're going to start with the Hindle system for this Z125 Pro. They came out with a brand new canister design. We're going to unbox it, we're going to show it to you, but remember, if you're watching the videos, you like what you see, leave some comments. We interact all the time, and please subscribe to our channel. Okay, so I've been told now that I should unbox. I guess that's a thing. People open the box and that's exciting. So we're gonna open the box right now. This is straight from the Great White North. Canadian friends up there at Hindle. Of course, our US distribution for this item. Good folks over at Woodcraft. Look at that, we got packing in the box. And we have parts in the box. This is like Christmas, but better, because I don't get anything at Christmas anymore. I'm too old. All I do is give stuff, my wife and kids. That's okay, because that makes me smile too. So, here we go. Here is the head pipe. This is exactly, back in the day when I used to get presents, how I just tore everything open. There was no rhyme, there was no reason, there was no pattern. There was just mayhem and destruction, right? Oh. You know I'm gonna make Dalton clean this mess up. They had two options available. Wow, that is thrilling. Now I know why people like it. I decided to go with the polished. You know, I think the polished with this bike, this underslung, we've got a lot of black here, we've got the green, and for me, I needed a little bit of bling to go with it. Of course, it came in perfect condition. It's very well packaged. In here, we have all the necessary parts to get this bad boy started. When we come back, I'm gonna be wrenching on the Kawasaki for the very first time. All right, here we go. We're gonna start by removing this little front fairing, this lower fairing. T-handle, Allen, super simple. Even a brand new motorcyclist will have all these tools in their garage. Piece of cake. Obviously, pay attention to how it came apart so you can get it back together. Same screws on the other side, we've got two. Go ahead and pull those out. We need to remove this so we can get access to both the air fuel sensor and, of course, the bolts that hold the header to the cylinder head. Okay, got that out of the way. Now, there's our sensor. $17mm wrench. There's a couple of schools of thought here, right? One school of thought is unplug it. Sometimes I just twist it, but you know, this one is just so easy to unplug. I think we're gonna go ahead and we're actually going to do this the right way. So we're gonna reach up here and we have to disengage the connector. Get that pulled down like that. Let's take a look at what lock they have here. Looks like I need to push in, pull like that. Okay, so I was able to dislodge it very easily from its mount point, which will slide it back in. There's a little tang there, just pull down. And then you're going to press this right here, right? And that'll release it, boom, pull it out. And now I can take the sensor and just rotate it out. Ridden the bike a little bit so far. It is definitely fun to ride. I think the bike looks great. I may actually prefer the look of this a little bit more than the Grom that we have. Okay, we've got a 12mm universal on a 3/8 ratchet. I'm gonna go ahead and loosen these up now. This is a relatively simple install. Like I said earlier, I think pretty much even the most novice mechanic should be able to rock this project out with relative ease. Not gonna lie, my work day is probably gonna come to an abrupt end once I get this done because I'm gonna be out riding the Z125 instead of doing what I should be doing, which is working. We're gonna use that same 12mm back here on a T-handle, and this is the mount. And the feel in there and see if there is a, no, there is no backup nut. It's actually welded onto the bracket, so you don't even need a wrench to hold it in place. And support the system, pull out the mount bolt like so, and off comes your system. Big difference between this and the two pieces that we've received from Hindle. We're gonna go ahead and get a weight on both. We'll let you know what the weight savings is. When we come back, we'll reinstall. Okay, so Video Steve went over, he weighed the systems, right? You ready? This right here. Oh, 8.5 pounds. Ooh, you know, if I do this for a while, I could probably get a pump. Now, Hindle, full system. Okay, ready? I feel like I need to assemble it like this. Yeah, 5 pounds less. 3.5 pounds. So literally we are taking 5 pounds off of a mini bike. Very substantial. First thing I want to do now is I want to start up here, right, with a spigot. Okay, I want you to take a look at this pipe. And I want you to look at the orientation of the loop that is going to grab a hold of that spring, which will in turn hook to this flange, okay? The orientation of this hole and that loop need to be over each other, like that. So when we put this spigot on here, right, it's going to go up in the head like so, okay? So that that hole is going to line right up with that loop. Okay. We have a little inconsistency here with the gasket, the stock gasket. You can see that the way it was smashed from the factory, yeah, I wouldn't label that as great. Okay, that definitely not great. I think we'll be able to reuse it. We will certainly check for leaks after we've installed it. And your experience with this may vary for certain. Number one, it's a brand new model. Number two, this is a low-cost vehicle. And sometimes there'll be some variance, you know, in manufacturing with these. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take this gasket right now and I wanna fit it up in there, okay? Because I feel like by having the gasket up in there and then following up with the spigot like that, I've got a better chance of getting that seated properly, okay? Our flange, remember, the flange, you need to have this hole right here, which is going to interact with the loop for the exhaust spring on the head pipe. This needs to be over the top of that or facing rearward. Okay, so we've got our gasket up in place, and I'm going to slide this over now. What I'm going to do here is put the nuts on real loosely. Now, I'm looking up in there at that gasket and just kind of rotating the spigot around, and just, I really want to kind of see it seat up in there, and actually feel pretty good about it. I think I got that. So you can see that Hindle has supplied a different set of nuts. Okay, the stock ones were flange nuts. There's not enough clearance here. Okay, so you're not going to be able to use those. Use the ones that Hindle supplied. I only have those up there finger tight at this point. Okay, and I've got that spigot all the way up there. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use that air fuel sensor. Still save the plug, because if you make a change with this down the road, right, and you decide to eliminate that, you'll have the plug, pop it right in, eliminate the sensor, you're good to go. Now what they've done here is they have supplied an adapter that will allow you to use the stock sensor, and there is also a larger bung that if you're doing like some kind of an auto tune or something like that, that you would be able to use that. Now, got that threaded in there. For our application, I'm not going to worry about it, but for yours, maybe a little bit of anti-seize in there would be a good call, because remember, you may be taking this apart 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road, and you want it to come apart nicely, and a little anti-seize there, and even a little anti-seize in here is also a good call. For our application, not so important, because remember, I'm probably going to have to put like 8 exhausts on this. Okay, now let's go ahead and slide this up into position like so, okay? And that'll pretty much hold itself there. Now, using the mounting hardware that Hindle supplied, we've got high quality fasteners with nylock nuts, which is nice. Okay, now we're going to take the bracket, and you look at this bracket, right, and yeah, I mean, I suppose you could put it on the outside like that, but if you look, there's a lip on the inside of this stock bracket that clearly is going to prevent this from rotating. So I would have to say that it needs to go on the inside, so it will use that mechanical advantage there to hold the bracket in place and reduce the possibility of any of this coming loose. We've got a really early system here, and there's no installation instructions. Not a big deal, right? Pretty straightforward stuff, in my opinion. Now, we've got our can. Notice I'm not really tightening anything up right now. Just kind of fitting everything. I want to get an idea of how this is all going to go together. Make sure my clearances are all good. And then we'll begin to snug the system here as I get it all up and double check everything. I'm going to go ahead now and snug these mounts. When I say snug, I'm talking finger tight, but still a little bit loose, okay? Got a 6mm Allen, and I have a 13mm backup wrench that we're going to go ahead and use, along with my T-handle here. Okay, and let's get the one underneath here. Okay, I'm gonna kind of just back that off just so it's not really tight yet, right? So I got some movement in it. Okay, now let's have a look at our clearance here on the swing arm. And I would have to say, yeah, that is where they expect that to go, so we are all set there. Now, my next step is going to be tightening up the flange. This is really tight, okay, between the pipe and the nut, so you're going to have to use an open-end wrench to do this. Very important also that you get an even pull on this. You don't want to run one side of the flange down more than the other, creating uneven pressure. So what you want to do is you want to keep an eye on the amount of exposed threads to keep them as even as possible. There's no need to go crazy with the torque here. All right, hit the other side. I'm looking in there and I can see that gasket, and it looks like it's squishing down pretty nicely, so I think we're going to be okay with that. Pretty standard stuff. Really, no system is going to come with a replacement gasket, and honestly, if I had to put a new gasket on this, this would actually mark the first time I'd ever had to replace a gasket when installing an exhaust on a bike that is this new. So hopefully we're okay there. No, relatively soon after we start it. Put your spring in position. I have a spring tool. If you don't happen to have one of these, side cutters make a real nice replacement for that. Now we have a spring here on the back side of the exhaust canister and the header pipe. Okay, here we go. Install this on the back side like so. Cover into the center of it. Okay, now we'll go ahead and snug up the canister mount bracket. Okay, kind of get that into that upwardmost position. I've installed a wobble extension on the end of my T-handle here, just to help with that angle. That nice and snug. Hit the one here in the back. And we'll be able to finish up with air fuel sensor. '17 wrench. All right, we'll clip this back into place. Thread this up in here. Hear that click? There's a little mounting tab right here. We're gonna go ahead and slide that bad boy up on there. Make sure it's locked into position. And the routing for the harness right there. Now, two things I want to do. Thing one is I want to make sure we're not going to lose these bolts, so I'm going to put just a little bit of high temp silicone. Now, you know, you don't really want to go ahead and use Loctite or anything up here, but what I do like to do in a situation like this is you take just a little bit of high temp silicone, okay, and put that on the threads of the stud like so, and what that's going to do is essentially not allow that nut to rattle off. Okay, these things definitely do vibrate quite a bit, so I would advise taking that step as well if you have it. Before we start this bike, we're going to clean this system thoroughly, okay? I'm going to use a little bit of brake clean up front. I'm going to use a little WD-40 here in the back. You leave these fingerprints on it, you start this bike and get that pipe hot, you're going to burn your fingerprints all over it, and then it is not going to look as good as it should. Okay, here we go. A little brake clean on the rag. It's going to be just what you need for the head pipe, right? Just kind of wipe that all off. Stainless steel. So let's be honest, not only do we want it to sound better, but this is as much cosmetic as it would be anything else. So you don't want to do anything that's going to degrade the aesthetic appearance of that new pipe. God, I can't wait to get more unboxing. I feel a much more unboxing in my future. And now that I've discovered it, I see why it's popular, because that was a whole hell of a lot of fun ripping that box open. I mean, that really took me back, way, way back into the 1970s back. Christmas time, giant TVs with huge tubes, phones with rotary dials. Okay, little WD-40 really does a great job here, okay. Works good on titanium too, aluminum. We'll try and just dry as much of it off as possible before we start it. So I really recommend you take these same steps when you install this on your Z125. All right, pipe's all cleaned up. Let's put this nose fairing back on. And the moment of truth will be upon us. Starting the bike. Probably one of the best parts of my job. Starting the bike. All right, go over to the other side. Make sure you save all of your fasteners, okay? We've got a spare spring there. Okay. Snug this up, and when we come back, we're gonna let you hear the Hindle power on our 2017 Kawasaki Z125 Pro. All right, here we go. We're about to unleash the Hindle power on our Z125 Pro. There we are at idle. I want to show you a little trick now, remember? I had a little concern for that exhaust gasket. Do this for just a second. Bring a little back pressure. If that was leaking, you'd hear it whistling up there. So I know I got a good seal. I'm okay. So if you run into that, do what I did. You should be good to go. Not only does it sound better, but I mean, look at this, okay? Heavy and ugly, light and sexy. Super affordable too. Remember, when you buy this here from us at STG, you're gonna get a great cashback rider reward from this purchase you can use on your next purchase here with us at STG. This is our Hindle Megaphone full exhaust install on the 2017 STG Kawasaki Z125 Pro project bike.